What up guys, Zim here, and today in the third video of how to play ones, we are gonna talk about positioning. And positioning is probably the second most important point that you have to be able to learn. Especially in ones, it's very, very important. If you are positioned wrongly, then you're probably gonna get scored on. And positioning has two dimensions to it: offensive positioning and defensive positioning. And we're going to talk about those 2 points in detail now. Alright guys, as I already said, positioning has 2 dimensions to it, and I'm going to talk about the defensive positioning first. And this is the more important one. So defensive positioning, guys. Very, 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 very important. Let's say, for example, okay, let's just kick the ball towards here. If the opponent is the ball right now, and he has the ball, and is dribbling it, where do you want to position yourselves? Do you like try to stay right here and try to defend the ball? Maybe. Or do you maybe place yourself right here in order to defend the ball? And the answer to that is, it depends. But usually, where you want to be placed when the ball is rolling towards you is the back post. So let's say the ball is right here. Then where you want to be placed is the far post or the back post right here. But not inside of the net, but rather outside of it, because you're giving yourself the best opportunity to make it, for example, up here or, well, right here, where the ball could go. And if for example, you are placed on the front post and the ball is rolling from like over here, they can just shoot it behind you. And, well, what are you going to do about that? You can't really save that one. I mean, you can, but it's going to be very hard. So, rule number 1, not Rocket League's rule number 1, but rule number 1 for defensive positioning is always rotate to the back post in order to have the best opportunity to save the ball. Rule number 2 is shadow defense. And this is probably the most important one. And I'm gonna roll the ball again in order to showcase this. So if the opponent is dribbling towards you, what you want to do is shadow their movement. That's why it's called shadow defense. You want to do something like what I'm doing right now. You want to shadow the ball or the opponent and make your move at a time where you feel it's the right time now. And this is kind of hard to time. You'll have to practice this a lot. But I think there's even a training pack from, if I'm correct, from SUNLESS on shadow defense, a custom training map, where you can practice this. And you want to do this in-game as well, because as I already said in a past video, which I'm gonna link, you will have to practice in free play, but also in actual games in order to practice this. And you want to shadow defense and then challenge at the right time. And this is a very, very important positioning skill to master, because it's probably the most used one in ones. And it is probably the most effective. So, trust me, rule number 2, very important, shadow defense. And rule number 3. Rule number 3 is fake challenges. And fake challenges are very, very important. I'm gonna talk about fake challenges a bit more in depth in the next video, which will be on strategy. I'll link it up there as well, if it's published by this point you're watching. And basically, fake challenges are very much key to any playstyle, because if you just drive up the ball every time. Like, for example, when the ball rolls towards you and you just fake that you're going to go for it, the opponent might make a move. They might flick it, for example, or just throw the ball away to you, and then you can take possession and maybe score. If you always go for the ball when it looks like you're going to, you will probably not make it far, because the opponent will catch on and they will change their strategy. They will adapt to you. This is also a point we're going to talk about in the next video. But this fake challenges are very, very important, because, as I already said, you can really fake out the opponent and they will just hit the ball towards you. So faking that you're going to go for the ball, for example, just with a drift like this, will already improve you. Now, as a last rule, I want to talk about, don't be reactive, but proactive. If you, in defense, we're still talking about defense, right? If you just wait, for example, in shadow defense, let's say the ball is rolling towards you and you're shadow defending, but you just don't do anything at all, well, then they can just shoot the ball right here and you'll have nothing covered. But if you are proactive, that means, for example, if the ball is rolling towards your net, and you're staying right here, and you just go for the ball very early, then you're being proactive, and the opponent might not know what to do, and you're going to save the ball. If you just go very early in order to defend the play, then that will really help you to win more games. That really sounded like twin. Alright, so this was the first dimension of positioning, and now we're going to talk about offensive positioning, and that is not quite as much as defensive positioning. But in offensive positioning, you want to change things up. What I mean by that is, if you, for example, if you're on the ball and all you do is you dribble it, and at the end you just do a flick. That might work for a couple of goals, for like 2 or 3. But in the end, the opponent will catch on. And they will see what you're doing. So they will know how to defend it. They'll probably go early and just mess your dribble up. So what you want to do to counter that is you want to change your way of trying to score up. So for example, you don't want to always flick it at the end, but maybe go for an air dribble bump. Or maybe just go off the wall for once. Try an air dribble or a double tap, something like that. That will really help you. And the opponent will never know what you're going to do next. And they can't really prepare themselves. So they will have it harder to defend these shots. Alright guys, and that was already it for the positioning video. I thought he just scored that. What? Clip that, please. What the fuck was that?